So finally we have some good news for Avatar Studios. The official Avatar Studios website is now back online, which is genuinely the news I wasn't sure I'd get to deliver when I made the last video on this topic. But the bad news is that what came back isn't really the same website that went dark, and once you start actually clicking around on it, you start to realize the situation we're in might be exactly as serious as the worst case theory that I laid out before. So hit that subscribe button and I'm going to update you on everything that's happened with Avatar Studios and the Avatar Studios website. So as a bit of background, in case you didn't see the last video on this topic, over a week ago the Avatar Studios website mysteriously went down with a 404 page, and there was no explanation, nothing was given, and nobody knew why it was going down. And the way it went down, it even got taken down off of Google search. It was down for so long that even the Google search engine crawler did not put it on the rankings anymore because it thought it was down forever. And a lot of people in the comments and a lot of people in the community thought the website was gone forever. And that came on top of 6 months of escalating bad news for the franchise, including the Aang movie getting pulled out of theaters and dumped onto Paramount Plus, and of course the entire 98-minute finished film leaking online on April the 12th, and the alleged leaker getting arrested in Singapore and facing $50,000 in fines and up to 7 years in prison. And then the original creative team getting absolutely blindsided by how everybody was just passing around the film, and they were just heartbroken by it. So when I sat down this morning and typed in avatarstudiosofficial.com into the address bar, I was fully expecting another 404, but instead we actually got the homepage loading, and I want to be honest, I was very relieved when I saw that. The navigation bar is sitting at the top of the page exactly where it used to be, the social links are still there and they're updated, and the copyright notice has actually been updated to say 2026 Viacom International instead of 2025. So finally someone has put the work in to finally update this website. But the problem is, when I started clicking on things, that's where the relief started to thin out. So the page does still have the very important stuff like the timeline, the copyright info, all the stuff about where to buy the books and all of that, and what TV shows are out, where they fit in the timeline, chronology, all of that type of stuff. And I think that's good, but it is definitely missing some of the stuff that was there before, like the character descriptions and stuff like that. Regardless, I think there are 3 readings which I think hold up logically given everything we know about the last 6 months at Paramount, and each of them ties directly back to either the leak, the merger, or the slow restructuring of the Avatar Studios. So that leads us to the first theory, and this is the security response theory, and it's the version of events that I personally still want to be true. The April 12 leak of the Aang movie was eventually traced back to a hacking group called the Peggle Crew, the same people responsible for a major download hosting site breach back in 2016. That discovery triggered a full internal review at Paramount to figure out where the breach actually originated from. Even though the trade press reporting suggested that the leak didn't come from inside Paramount's own systems, the company was always going to audit every single piece of infrastructure that touched the franchise. The Avatar Studios website is one of those pieces. If the security team decided to pull the entire domain offline while they checked for vulnerabilities, then that's probably what we're watching now, and it was a careful and staged restoration where the parts of the site come back as they get cleared by security. Hey, if you know computing, anything with an input is a vulnerability if it's not handled and sanitized correctly. This also fits the timing pretty well. The leak happened in mid-April and the site went dark just a few weeks later, and it's now coming back in pieces. If this is the right reading, then in another month or two everything will be back to normal and we can stop worrying about Avatar Studios collapsing. That's what I pray, that's what I hope for, because if that's not the case, then Avatar Studios is in trouble. And this leads us onto the second theory, which is the brand consolidation theory, and this is where things start to get much more uncomfortable. Paramount and Skydance officially merged late in 2025 under David Ellison, and ever since the merger went through, the entire animation strategy at the company has been quietly rewritten from the top down. Ellison was the executive who unilaterally pulled the Aang movie out of its planned theatrical release in December and pushed it onto Paramount Plus as a streaming exclusive, a decision which the creative team reportedly found out about with no advance warning. They pretty much found out about it on Twitter. If the new leadership has decided that Avatar content should live primarily on Paramount Plus from this point forward, with the streaming platform doing the heavy lifting for the marketing and the audience acquisition, then a standalone Avatar Studios website starts to look pretty redundant. If everything's going to be on Paramount Plus, then they might think that they don't need the website. Of course, I fully disagree. You need the website as a way to market, as a way to bring new fans in, as a way to tell them where they can start off in this new Avatar expanded universe. And this does also fit in because another function of this website was also to create a mailing list. You could also put your email in and get updates about Avatar Studios. But if they're already subscribed to Paramount Plus, then you don't really need to get their email on a mailing list because they've already got it through the Paramount Plus streaming service. In this version of events, I don't expect to see any new content added to the Avatar Studios website. I think we're just going to see links to Paramount Plus, the streaming service, and when the movie comes out on DVD or Blu-ray, if it ever does, I think we'll see links to buy it on there, and that's pretty much it. And that spells a really, really poor reception for the website going forward, because if there's nothing on there, if it's just a marketing website where they're just going to put advertising stuff on, I don't think many people are going to go there. And if that's their first impression of Avatar when they Google Avatar Studios and they find that website with just marketing and advertising, I think it's a pretty bad look for Avatar Studios. And that leads us onto the third theory, which is the repositioning theory, and that's the one that's been giving more invested corners of the fan base a real headache. Avatar Studios, as we all know, was announced in February 2021 with enormous ambitions. 3 movies were promised. That was the Aang movie, the Korra movie, and the Kyoshi movie, and then it eventually got changed to one of them being a Zuko movie, but that's gone through so many iterations, it's not even worth talking about because they're not happening, sadly. And then they also wanted to do multiple series like the Seven Havens and more Avatar series like that, and an entire multimedia franchise being rebuilt with comics, books, games, and everything in between, all under the original creators Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, all under their creative leadership. But 5 years on, the studio has produced exactly 1 feature film, and that's not even out yet technically. That just got dumped onto the internet and passed around like candy, so that's technically not even out. And even when it does come out, it's not coming out in theaters anymore. It's coming out on the streaming service Paramount Plus. And apart from that, we've just had a stretch of public silence broken only by the leak. That track record is really bad, I've got to say. Like, they need to be ramping up their production in some way or producing something else. Because if Paramount is looking at Avatar Studios and they're saying that they've under-delivered, well then, relative to the 2021 announcement, then what we might be watching is a slow folding of the Avatar Studios back into the general Nickelodeon animation department. This is where the Avatar IP originally came from, and it's where it continues to get produced, but the dedicated creative unit loses its independent authority and identity. If this happens, Avatar is going to be treated horrifically, just like it was when Korra was released. As we all know, when Korra was released, they only thought they were allowed to do 1 season, so season 1 wraps up in a bow nicely, and then they got told they can do season 2. But then season 2, halfway through that, and they got told they could do a season 3. So that's why it's not cohesive all the way to season 4, because by the time season 2 was being written, they didn't even know if they were going to get to a season 4. If this happens again, and if Avatar Studios gets folded back in under Nickelodeon Studios in the animation department, then you can kiss all of the autonomy goodbye. If you want to have a good release schedule, that's not going to happen. Now, I know Paramount can already make the decisions above Avatar Studios right now, because they still own Avatar Studios, but it gives them some level of creative freedom to make some decisions. But under Nickelodeon, that's not going to be in their control whatsoever, and that is a really bad thing for Avatar fans. Like, I'm really worried if that is the case. But look, one last thing I'll add before I go to end on a good note is the fact that the site did come back up at all means that somebody inside Paramount made the active decision to bring it back. Even if this is in a reduced form, studios that are being fully shut down don't really get partial restorations unless they're trying to hide something, which could always be the case, but I don't think that's the case, so I'm going to leave you with that good news. Domains that are being abandoned don't keep up their copyright notices updated to 2026, and the website wouldn't be back up at all if Avatar Studios was closing. So hopefully you can rest your heart. Just know that Avatar Studios is at least safe for another year. I'll give us that, at least until the end of 2026. I think Avatar Studios is going to exist. We're going to get the movie on Paramount Plus, hopefully on DVD and Blu-ray, and please go buy it. If you want to support the movie, please go buy the DVD or Blu-ray. I'll definitely be buying at least 1 copy, because we got to support the movie after everything that's happened to it. And please, Avatar Studios, produce more content. I can't wait for the Seven Havens. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this update. Hopefully this is some good news for Avatar Studios. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. If you made it this far, drop a thank Mr. Zuko in the comments down below.